Katie was driving home from work when a distracted Audi driver drifted into her lane and practically climbed the side of her Tesla Model 3. The Audi's front wheel made contact with Katie's rear wheel, launching the Audi into the air and forcing her Tesla to veer off the road and onto a sidewalk. Amazingly, nobody was injured. The Audi's side curtain airbags deployed as it nearly rolled over, and Katie's Tesla automatically called emergency services. However, since there were no injuries, first responders weren't sent to the scene. The Tesla sustained damage to the rear bumper cover, quarter panel, and driver's side wheels. In addition, the Audi's tire left a mark on the Tesla's driver's door. Both vehicles were towed away and later totaled by the insurance companies, who found the Audi driver responsible for the collision. That's just a taste of what's in store on today's episode. Mustang maneuvers, dangerous drivers, and convenient cops are all coming up on
Wham Baam, Teslacam. I hope you're satisfied.
Eddie was driving home from vacation with his wife and child when a Mustang driver suddenly did what Mustang drivers do. He lost control and spun into the middle of the interstate. Eddie slammed on the brakes and swerved to the right to avoid hitting the Mustang, tires squealing. The trucker ahead of them must have seen the Mustang coming down the ramp because they quickly merged over, barely avoiding a collision. The Mustang wasn't hit by any other vehicles, nor did any other vehicles hit each other, so everyone was able to continue driving. Eddie told us the Mustang later sped up and passed him a little farther down the highway. Manoli was driving with FSD V13.2.9 engaged in heavy rain when a speeding vehicle ahead of him hydroplaned and slammed into the guardrail, its airbags deploying instantly. Manoli's Model Y started braking hard automatically, but he decided to take manual control anyway. He's reasonably sure FSD would have navigated the situation safely on its own, but he didn't feel like waiting to find out, especially since this Model Y was a loaner he was borrowing while his Model S Plaid was getting serviced. He stopped and called 911, and to his surprise, a police officer who'd been close behind them rolled up 30 seconds later. Now that's a convenient cop. This submitter was using full self-driving when he heard a loud bang. When he looked in his left side view mirror, he saw a red SUV losing control before spinning around in front of him. He told us he disengaged FSD before swerving left and slamming on the brakes to avoid a collision. The red SUV struck the barrier on the right before ricocheting back into the highway. It wasn't safe for our submitter to stop, but he called the California Highway Patrol and informed them that he had video footage of the collision. About a week later, a CHP officer investigating the collision contacted him for the video. He immediately recognized that the footage came from a Tesla, and he told our submitter the footage was a tremendous help to his investigation. Teslacam for the win. This Model Y captured a rather spectacular bird bath. This is called a water salute, and it's a ceremonial aviation tradition when airport fire trucks spray water over an aircraft. It's a gesture of respect and celebration used for pilots, retiring aircraft, or inaugural airline routes. In this case, it was to honor the final flight of an aircrew member. We're just as thrilled as our submitter that he'd parked his Tesla nearby to capture this event on camera. Speaking of birds, this submitter was waiting for crossing pedestrians when a rooster suddenly crossed the road. Okay, now why did this chicken cross the road? Whoever leaves the best answer in the comments will be awarded a Wham Baam hat. JJ was in a left turn only lane when a Honda in the lane on his right darted into his path. JJ had to swerve around the Honda to avoid a collision before continuing. He said there was no honking, no hand gestures, no other interaction before what happened next. After JJ completed his turn, he noticed the Honda creeping up on his left in his peripheral vision as if he was racing to get ahead of him. Even as the Honda driver waved his hands in the air like he just didn't care, JJ ignored him and continued looking straight ahead as he drove. Out of nowhere, the Honda driver swerved in front of JJ and slammed on the brakes, and JJ had to brake hard to avoid rear-ending the Honda. To top it off, the driver opened his door in the middle of the street before stepping out like he wanted to fight. JJ told us his first thought was, is this guy crazy? The whole thing was so dramatic, JJ decided to just drive around him and leave him in the dust. Well done, JJ. That is exactly what drivers should do in a situation like this. Hit the juice pedal and get out of there. Norman was having dinner with his girlfriend in San Gabriel, California, when Sentry mode was triggered by a group of vehicle prowlers. After they pulled up and parked behind his Tesla, one guy jumped out of the back seat and started peeking into cars. After looking into the back seat of the car parked next to Norman's, he approached his Tesla. He smashed the quarter glass, allowing him to reach in and pull the lever to fold down his seat and see if there was anything valuable in the trunk. Thankfully for Norman, his trunk was empty, so the burglars moved on. That is, they moved on to the vehicle parked right next to his, completely without shame or fear, even as bystanders watched everything they were doing. Is this sort of thing so normal in California that nobody cares, even when it happens right in front of them? Norman reported the incident to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. What are the chances they'll actually do anything with this information? Place your bets in the comments. Mark had left his Tesla parked in Santa Monica, California, when the same thing happened to him, only this time a masked couple were the culprits. We couldn't help but notice these thieves like to leave their fuel doors open. Does anyone know why? Perhaps it has something to do with their vehicles being stolen? If this is a pattern, you'd think it would make it easy for the cops to pick them out. Kelly was on her way to a medical appointment when she missed her turn, so she merged left, preparing to make a U-turn. While waiting for the traffic light, a Honda came flying out of nowhere, cutting across traffic and barreling over an island before slamming into a vehicle ahead and pushing it into the Honda Accord in front of her. Thankfully, she'd left enough space in front of her so her Tesla didn't become involved in the collision. It looks like the driver sped through the intersection without any attempt to slow down before smashing into the other vehicles. The driver of a white Model 3 jumped out of his car and helped the driver of the Honda, who Kelly told us was an elderly woman. LP was driving in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, when traffic slowed down for a turning vehicle up ahead. But the driver behind LP wasn't paying attention. That may not seem like a lot of damage, but the initial repair estimate was $8,000 US. That climbed to over $26,000 as the car was taken apart, and reapplying the paint protection film added another $2,000 to that. LP made a claim with the other driver's insurance provider, but at first they refused to accept liability. He told us that 30 seconds after he sent them his Teslacam footage, they responded with, "We will accept responsibility." Check out what Darth Yogurt witnessed while driving his Cybertruck. Darth Yogurt stopped to make sure everyone was okay before sharing this footage with the involved drivers. I guess he's one of those nice Sith Lords I've heard about. Srini had just finished loading his groceries and was backing out of a parking spot as the driver of a Honda was doing the same. Srini stopped the moment he saw the Honda moving, hoping the other driver would do the same, but they backed into his stopped Tesla instead. Srini told us he's now joined the long list of Tesla owners who've been Honda bumped. We can assure you that it's a very long list. The Honda driver insisted on calling the police, which Srini found interesting because they admitted to causing the collision once the police arrived. Their insurance provider accepted responsibility after seeing Srini's Tesla had been stationary when the collision occurred. Reese was driving in heavy traffic when he stopped for a red light up ahead. When traffic began moving, both he and the driver next to him left a gap for a pickup driver to exit a parking lot. The pickup began entering the center turn lane when another driver with the right-of-way slammed into the pickup at around 40 miles per hour. An Oakland County Sheriff's deputy who'd been passing by activated his emergency lighting and turned around to check on everyone involved. Reese stopped and showed his Teslacam footage to the deputy, but his opinion was that the driver in the turn lane was at fault. Regardless of the final decision, we have to point out that this collision wouldn't have happened if Reese and the other driver hadn't left a gap when they definitely were not required to. Close the gap. It was just after dusk when Chris landed in Sacramento after a week-long business trip before picking up his Tesla Model Y from the airport parking lot and heading home. After he'd left the parking lot, he gave himself plenty of stopping distance behind another driver who was pumping their brakes. Moments later, he noticed a black car illegally parked on the shoulder. Out of nowhere, a speeding hatchback flew past Chris, swerving out of control after the driver had failed to notice the parked car until the last second. After ricocheting off the center island, the hatchback went off the other side of the road before smashing into a light pole. Chris stopped and called 911, and his call was routed to the airport's emergency dispatch line. After dispatching first responders, the operator told Chris it was very important that he not touch the downed light pole. Another driver decided that ain't nobody got time for that before lifting the light pole and shoving it off the road. Chris said all the other drivers then drove around him and left, but he stayed until first responders arrived 10 minutes later. They recorded copies of his Teslacam footage with body cams and a phone. And as Chris left, he told us they were standing around watching the footage on the phone. Speaking of phones, how do you watch Wham Baam Teslacam? YouTube tells us 57% of our fans watch on the big screen, and 17% of you watch on phones. Let us know your screen of choice in the comments. We'll be releasing another episode next week. Subscribe so you won't miss it.